whoa, yeah, we are in the place of yeah.
Hi-ho, GP Mythos here, and welcome to the Little Old People Podcast. I'm here with my co-old person, Mark.
AKA the little black dude.
If this is your first time listening, we're two oldish nerds looking at random fandoms from varying directions. I'm a historian and archaeologist by degree, and a former wage slave by trade. Mark is a jeweler, YouTuber, and fellow fan enthusiast. We've had lots of varying topics over the last couple of months, but today we decided we'd talk about something really fun, cosplay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Now, this is something that we've both engaged in over the many number of years that we've known each other separately and together. We've never actually done a group cosplay, though. We've never been able to get everybody to agree on one of those.
Yeah, that's the downside of having a large number of very, very varied nerds.
That is very, very true. We're all interested in many of the same things, but we don't like enough of the characters from one show or another, or, one game or another to agree to all cosplay that particular character. It's just not going to happen.
Heat death of the universe, for crying out loud.
Absolutely. Now, I don't think that we need to explain exactly what cosplay is to about 89 to 90% of our listeners. But for the 10% or so that don't know, according to Wikipedia, the source of all knowledge, cosplay, or cosplay, as it is pronounced in Japanese, is a portmanteau of the words costume play, a performance art in which participants, called cosplayers, wear costume and fashion accessories to represent a specific character. Cosplayers often interact to create a subculture, and a broader use of the term cosplay applies to any costumed role-playing in venues apart from the stage. An entity that lends itself to dramatic interpretation may be taken up as a subject, and is not unusual to see genders switched, or known as cross-play. Favorite sources include anime, cartoons, comic books, manga, television series, and video games. For those of you that zoned out, the too long didn't read is cosplay is dressing up as your favorite anime, manga, comic book character, TV, movie, or video game for the adulation of your friends and other costume strangers, usually at convention.
Well, that covers the what. But the difficult part is the why. Cosplay has levels, kind of like sports. You got your beginners, your intermediate, your professional, your casual. A person can adopt a single character, mannerisms and all, or play an array of characters over the duration of their interests. Cosplay culture is faceted, and it honestly could take all day to scratch the surface of the tip of that iceberg. Let's start with characters, though. A cosplayer can select their character on a number of different topics. Does the character look like me, act like me? Do I admire this character? Can I make the costume easily? Will it be a challenge? Do I want my photo taken by large numbers of people? Will there be other people dressed as the same character? And as you stated, Captain Sama, sources can come from all over the geek sphere and go from obvious to obscure. As a younger man, I did a lot more cosplay than I do now. And for years, I didn't dress up to go to conventions. But when I started attending cons again last year at Anime Next 2019, I hit him with the double whammy. Interviewing cosplayers while cosplaying. Nice. And my choice was Black Nerd Prime Stephen Q. Urkel. Why did I do this? For me, it was a simple. Steve Urkel represents what I as a black geek love about the culture. He's a character I grew up loving to watch on TV. He looked like me. Acted like me when I was a kid. A lot of people used to try and insult me by saying I was Steve Urkel. Dude, you cannot insult a nerd by calling him a nerd. You can't do it. And even though he wasn't the most dapper, unless he was on, the cool juice or the boss sauce, he made me feel like being smart and black was a cool thing. So as an homage to all the folks who felt like me in the late 80s and early 90s, I stepped out the high water pants, red suspenders, and tortoiseshell glasses. Just straight up hang-howing the whole place. But I chose something that was simple, though. What's referred to as a closet cosplay. That means you make your costume with clothing you already have, or perhaps you only buy one or two other accessories. It's the simplest kind of cosplay to do. And it's great for, a first foray or a return to the scene. Oh, but I've seen some people go all out. Captain Sama, what's the most decked out cosplay you've ever seen?
Well, I think it depends on your definition of decked out. There was an older lady in Arizona who passed away a couple of years ago who used to cosplay as Wonder Woman well into her 90s. And she had a very simple costume with just a red t-shirt with a W on it, blue shorts, the lasso of truth, a headband, and a gold belt. Later, as she became more infirmed, she had her walker, or Zimmer frame as our British listeners know it, painted gold as well. She'd grown up admiring Wonder Woman, but didn't even know cosplay was a thing until well after she'd retired. Now, I saw these pictures, and to me, this is the most adorable, wonderful thing ever. As basic as that sounds, it was a really tricked out cosplay. I can appreciate the time and work that goes into elaborate cosplays, but the ones I love the best are the simple ones, like your closet cosplay there. There might not be money, but there's genuine love for the character. Now, that may be the case because the more elaborate my cosplays are, the worse reactions or no reactions are what I get when I'm cosplaying. The most simple things I do, like random samurai, I'll wear hakama and a kimono and take my bokens with me, or, I may do Jin from Samurai Champloo, or Biki from Fate, or Kyoya Otori from Oran High School Host Club, or just wearing a basic kimono. Those costumes get the biggest reactions out of people. When I went with my oldest nephew to a con one year, and he was dressed in my ninja cosplay, this random guy walks up to him and says, "It is refreshing, with all these elaborate costumes on display, to see a simple ninja." And that really struck me. So for me, cosplay is about heart. The best elaborate cosplays I've seen are mostly from the professional cosplayers in Japan. And at the same time, our friend Nerdy Wolf has pulled off some amazing cosplays on a very limited budget. His Jon Snow a couple of years ago was spot on. His various Jokers have gone from hilarious to terrifying, mostly
And the
terrifying.
fact that he got a compliment from Mark Hamill on one of them. Oh my God.
The sun came out and angels started singing, I'm sure.
Yes, apparently his wife had to do all the talking because he was way too shocked.
Oh, I could believe it. We've even seen him pull off SS uniforms with a rather disturbing amount of ease.
I will never, ever, ever let him live that down.
No, he was way too relaxed for somebody wearing jackboots, that's all I'm saying.
Yes.
I mean, hell, you did Ong a couple of years ago, and I almost died when you sent me that picture.
Oh, I still love that cosplay as well. I'm still frustrated by the fact that half the people that were at that party didn't know who I was. Except for one dude that was in line. I was like, I'm so mad that nobody knows who I am. From way back behind everybody trying to get in, I hear somebody shout, "You're the Avatar!"
Well, see, there you go. You made an impression on at least one person, but I have to say that is one of the best damn cosplays I've seen in a long, long time.
Was very happy about that one, yes.
Also, it still angers me that your head is the right shape. That when you're bald, your head looks awesome. I suffer from the genetic point in the middle of my head, so I cannot shave my head because I look like a thumb.
Yeah, I understand.
Now, on another note, I have seen some plus-size cosplays that are spot on, especially of Sailor Senshi, or Sailor Soldiers, as Americans so crassly knew them, those of us that grew up in the 90s. I've seen some crossplay princesses that have proved I am a failure at girling. One of my favorites, I want to say it was from Otakon 2006, was Nicholas Wolfwood with a Star of David instead of a gun cross.
I didn't see him, but I saw pictures of him, and I was like, oh my God, how did I miss that?
I almost died at the cuteness of a baby Naruto. I don't even like Naruto, but seeing this kid, he must have been like 2, as baby Naruto was just the cutest damn thing I'd ever seen in my life. I was literally sprinting across the room to see this kid. So cute.
Well, when people start him off young, it makes me happy.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen puns brought to life in the form of a paper shredder.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I saw that guy. His costume was insane.
A friend of a friend here that I have, whom I met at one of the cons, who is an engineer who made a wearable video game cabinet that you can play. It's double-sided. He's in the middle. You can play both cabinets on either side.
Okay, you told me about him wearing it. I did not realize that it was double-sided. That just makes it that much more awesome.
It is amazing. I've seen him in it once here, and then he went to Comic-Con last year with it. He met Pee Wee Herman!
Oh, my childhood. Oh, my childhood. Oh, I love that.
He was playing his console box. I was about to die. die when I saw these pictures. It's amazing. So the sky is the limit when it comes to cosplaying, or at least your budget can be the limit. But the real question is, why do we do this? Why do we spend 6 months to a year and hundreds, if not thousands of dollars we barely have on a costume that you'll only be wearing for 1 or at most 3, maybe 4 days? Again, it comes back to me to love. It's about making and wearing cosplay is a labor of love. I feel so safe and at home and at conventions, and the ability to freely express all sides of your personality through the character you're cosplaying is a feeling that is difficult to describe to somebody who's never done it. The costume is the real me. Real life is the costume.
I can't say anything bad about that, because there's a lot of people who real life's so difficult to enjoy. But the second they put on something that reminds them of their fandom or expresses their fandom to someone else, and then they have it recognized, that does everything for them. Fandom is love. Everything that you're describing is someone's desire for something fictional to be real. Fandom can bring people together, and it can transcend barriers. When I was at Anime Next, I interviewed a legally blind cosplayer. She said she can only see about 3 to 4 inches in front of her face. Like at a distance, maybe about 1.5 feet.
Dang.
But she learned how to sew because her parents told her a blind girl can't sew. So she was like, you know what, hold my beer.
Spite will get you
crap.
Everywhere.
It is sad, but it is true. And some of the stuff she made was insane. Does everything mathematically. By the way, master's degree in engineering. The girl's nasty. I love it.
Nice.
But like I say, even with her limited sight, she's able to design some pretty awe-inspiring stuff. When it really comes down to it, if it's something that you want to do, you will find a way to do it. Whether, your first time out is something like Professor Chaos and put foil on, cardboard, on your body there, or if it's just, you decide to paint your face and, go out as Beast Boy. I don't know. Whatever your desire to do something will be, you'll figure out a way to do it. And as time goes on, your process is going to, change, evolve. It might get more complex. It might get more streamlined. It really depends. And that always is something that interests me when I see the way that people go about doing their cosplay. So when you find something that works for you, of course, you're going to keep doing it. But
Sure.
What exactly is the process is always the question for people. And everybody's is a little different. What's yours like?
For me, usually the process starts with watching a program, anime, manga, or I'm playing a video game, and my first thought is, once I see a character that I like, is, oh my god, I need to cosplay this. Then, especially if I'm watching a show, it becomes screenshot everything. Oh, he moved left, screenshot. He moved right, screenshot. Oh, he did a jump. I can now see the inside of his clothes, screenshot. I screenshot everything.
You're an anime stalker.
Oh, I am, absolutely. I will take all the pictures. And when I'm done screenshotting, then I go internet stalking. Ooh, here's a 3D model that somebody made of this character. Let me take all these pictures and save them, because now I know what this costume will look like in 3D space as opposed to a 2D drawing. If it's a video game character, especially for a newer game where the characters are indeed 3 dimensions, then it's, okay, spin them around and screenshot the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Then it becomes, ooh, okay, it looks like it's this color in this light, but most of the time it looks like it's this color in this light. So these are the colors that I need. This is the fabric that I need. I will literally break it down into all its component parts. These are the colors that I need. These are the kinds of shoes I need. Then I start going over what I already have in my wardrobe. What kind of wig, if any, am I going to need? How much money is this going to cost me? Oh, look, he has accessories. Oh, look, how can I make a variation? Sometimes I will come up with different variations of that same character, changing accessories and buckles and that kind of thing. Sometimes I'll go completely off the rails and then have to drag myself back. And that can take upwards of a month, even, or more, before I ever start shopping. Before I have spent $1 the first, I am breaking that character down into as many component parts as possible so that I know what I've got, what I actually need to make. And then I start looking for patterns. What can I modify? Then I go to thrift stores. What's in the thrift stores that I can buy, that I can add to or change? How cheap is it? Would it be cheaper to just buy this and change it? Or would it be cheaper to just go find a pattern and make it my damn self? So I know that it's right from the word go. That's why it takes me up to a year to do 1 or 2 cosplays. because it's very involved, and it's kind of ridiculous the amount of time and effort that can go into a cosplay if it's really elaborate. At the same time, the last cosplay that I remember doing, I decided to go as a sim. That did not take long at all. I bought some Christmas lights from Target, a headband, and some plastic canvas. Made myself a plumb bob that changes color 3 times. It can be green, yellow, or red, which are the basic symbols for, a sim that is neutral, in distress, or just kind of eh. How simple or how complex you want it to be depends entirely on what character you're doing.
Myself, I never have gone to those kinds of extremes, personally. The only times that I've had what could even be considered an elaborate costume was when I went to Otakon 2005 with my son's mom and a couple friends of ours. Myself, my son's mom, our friend, were the main characters from a series called A Little Snow Fairy Sugar, which I absolutely love. I don't care what anyone says about me. Hate if you want to. The show is adorable. But we did that because that was one of the first series that I showed my son's mom, and she absolutely loved it. Because when I first introduced her to what anime was, she thought everything was the kind of stuff that I like. I love martial arts anime. I love giant robot anime. I love stuff with explosions. I love to see fighting and drama and all that kind of stuff. She thought that was it. She's like, well, I'm not going to like it. I was like, oh, really? Let me show you something. So I showed her Chobits. I showed her Chobits, and she fell in love. And I was like, okay, well, let's see what else we can find for you. We found Sugar. She absolutely loved it. She's like, I need to make this costume. She spent 6 months sewing like crazy to make her costume, and it was friggin' amazing. Loved it. I was like, see, this is pretty cool. I enjoy, what's going on. She's like, oh, I'm making one for you too. I was like, I'm sorry, what? At first, that was the whole thing. But when, the costumes were done, we were the main fairy Sugar. I was her, guy friend Salt, and our friend was one of their other classmates whose name was Pepper. And the three of us couldn't walk 5 feet without people taking pictures. It was friggin' awesome.
Nice.
Myself, because A, I'm lazy, and B, I'm impatient. I don't tend to sew very much. If I do, it's usually just like to make little alterations here or there. Like if it's a long sleeve shirt, to make it not a long sleeve shirt. That's about it. When I did my Urkel cosplay, it was all stuff that I had. I spent $10 on a pair of glasses. I spent $7 on a pair of suspenders, which I friggin' love and I will still wear. Everything else was stuff. Yep, everything else was stuff I already had, so it wasn't like it was an involved thing for me. I am going to be working on a Green Lantern John Stewart costume that's actually decent this time, because the last time I made one, as a matter of fact, you were there the last time I wore it. That was the only time I ever wore one. Yeah, that was literally all stuff from the thrift store. I spent maybe $5 on the entire thing.
Wow, okay.
So it was, okay, I have cloth, I have Stitch Witch, and I have an iron. Let's go.
Okay, I'm telling you right now, Stitch Witch is useless. You're throwing your money in the toilet.
I wore the costume once. That was all. That's all I needed.
Yeah, no, you'd be better off, honestly, with double-sided sellotape. Stitch Witch is a lie.
Like I said, for what I needed, it works. Plain and simple. Because like I said, lazy and impatient. But in all seriousness, you don't need to go involved, but when you do, the people who have an appreciation for it just get that much more into it. Every time I go to conventions and I take pictures, I am taking pictures of people who you can tell love what they're wearing. Like you were talking about before, it's all about the love. Some people show that love by putting a ridiculous amount of time and effort into what they're doing. Some people show that love by, when they're wearing whatever costume it is, no matter how elaborate it might be, they're acting like the character. They're working their way into it. When I went to Otakon in 2004, never forget this, there was a guy dressed as Freakazoid.
Nice.
Now, this is a simple costume. It was a red unitard with a big freaking F on his chest, painted his face blue, had a weird wig on. Nothing major about it. But the fact that anytime someone asked him for a picture, he had the poses down. You could, from a distance, straight up say, okay, somebody just brought Freakazoid out of the TV. That's love. Plain and simple.
Absolutely.
Myself, like I said, when I do a costume, I usually do something that's fairly simple because I'm going to be moving around a lot. I'm constantly moving back and forth. I don't want to run into people with, stuff that I have that I'm carrying, especially now because, I carry my studio on my back whenever I go to conventions. So I want to make sure that I'm not knocking people over left and right. So it has to be something that's comfortable. But when you cosplay, and I still think that this is one of the most amusing parts about cosplay, is how many things can happen as far as conversations that you're just having with people that turn into the most ridiculous stories possible. I'll get into that a little bit later in the podcast. But then that brings us to another place that really affects a lot of people when it comes to choice in characters. Like somebody who wants to start out cosplaying or has done one or two, but they're trying to decide what other characters they're going to do, and that sometimes can bring forward a problem. Should I cosplay as a character that I really like, regardless of whether or not I'm built the same way or I have a similar appearance, or should I lean more towards somebody who looks more like me to make it seem quote unquote more authentic? Do you believe that one way or the other is preferable, or do you believe that it matters at all?
Honestly, I don't think it matters at all. For me, if I were to only cosplay characters that looked like me, was the same height as me, and acted like me, I would literally never cosplay, because there are no female presenting characters that are my complexion. They're just not there. The only two characters I would be able to do would be Afro Samurai. Maybe if I were to go back into actual history, there was a black samurai in Japan during the Tokugawa shogunate.
Yasuke, and holy crap, do I want to learn more about this dude.
Exactly. That would limit my cosplay to literally those two people. Whereas I would say, for me, one of the main attractions of some of the characters I cosplay is that they already wear glasses, so I don't have to change that. I can literally incorporate my glasses into my cosplay.
Another thing that worked for your Jin, absolutely.
Absolutely. But the fact that Jin was a total badass helped a lot. Mugen, yes, I do not like, but Jin is the bomb. I love him. He's the best. Father Abel Nightroad from Trinity Blood already wears glasses. That's cool. But he's such a cool character. That is the most elaborate cosplay I've ever done. And I loved it so much. It was so much fun. Nobody paid attention to me in it, but I don't care. I looked awesome and I knew it. I enjoyed that cosplay very, very much. Kyoya from Oran Host Club already wears glasses, but he's basically our, evil overlord.
Yes. Shout out.
So I love that cosplaying that character. But at the same time, I have also cosplay characters that don't wear glasses. And yeah, so it's just, somebody wants a picture. Cool. Take them off, pop them in my sleeve, do my poses, whatever. So that has nothing whatsoever to do with the character. It's about attitude. I've come across little people that were dressed as Sam and Frodo, which was the cutest damn thing I'd ever seen in my life. They were a husband and wife couple. So cute. As soon as I saw them, I was like, Frodo! Sam! So much fun.
That's great.
It was the best thing ever. Like I said, I've seen plus-size cosplayers as, the Sailor Scouts that look better than the skinny girls I've seen dressed as the Sailor Scouts because, they're already tall and skinny, so I already have the body type. If you can pull it off, I say rock it. I have a friend who's fairly short. She's like 5 foot and feels like she should only be restricted to cosplaying short characters, even though she hates being short. I disagree. I think that if you love the character, you should just cosplay them because if you have the attitude and if you've got the costume, your height doesn't matter. I've seen people that are 6 feet tall cosplaying the dwarves from The Hobbit. The tallest dwarf is 5'2". But these guys are well over 6 feet, but they've got the costumes and they've pulled it off. I've seen short people cosplaying elves. It works. You just have to have the attitude. Go for it. If you think you can do it and you've got the confidence, work it.
Mm-hmm. Now, I 100% agree that what you look like shouldn't determine what characters you choose. However, there are times where that can work in your favor. For example, one of the most adorable things I had seen, there was a woman who went to Otakon 2003. This was my first year, so I'm taking pictures everywhere I can because I'm loving every minute of it.
Sure.
She was dressed as Chi from Chobits.
Nice.
She had her little girl, who was probably about 2, maybe 2 years old, dressed as Sumomo.
Aww.
I don't care what anyone says, that is how you do it. This poor little child, she knew she was wearing a costume. That's about all we knew.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm seeing this in my mind, and that is the cutest thing ever.
Then it's going to help that image that much more that she had a pencil. This little girl had a big friggin' novelty pencil that she was carrying around. lost it. I completely lost it when I saw this kid.
Okay, I'm sorry. I need to go take an insulin shot. I think my blood sugar is off the charts. That is so cute.
I like it when people do that kind of stuff with their children as well, because that's something that plants a seed for you. Those kinds of things become a part of what is regular in their minds. So the idea of dressing up as a character with their family is something that can be, a uniting thing. So going with, a child's appearance does help in some cases, because it makes it easier for them to get into the whole concept, because they're not worried about whether or not they fit into the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, if you can work with it, absolutely work with it. But it shouldn't be the end-all be-all. And unfortunately, there are some people who take that concept, character accurate cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They take that and use that as a really, really polite way to say, no, we don't want you anywhere near us because you're too fat or you're too short or you're too skinny or things like that. And it's frustrating that that's ever the case, but I don't give a crap. If you want to do the cosplay, you put in the work, you put in the time, and you strut your damn stuff, I got no problems with you. That's
exactly. Well, I agree. But people that are determined to keep you out from doing that, again, that is back to something we discussed actually in the very first episode, gatekeeping.
Yes.
And I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the very few things that will genuinely make me rage. And no. That is 100% unacceptable.
Mm-hmm. And it's sad that it's still one of those alive and well type of situations. I saw on Twitter yesterday some guy who kicked over his whole gaming rig because he found out a game that he played on the PS4 since it came out is being released for PC. His reasoning was that Sony and the developing studio betrayed him. I'm like, are you serious? You've played this game since it came out. You enjoy it. You have fun with it. But people who didn't have a PlayStation 4, who tend to have PC games, are going to play, and now you're mad? What is wrong with you? Is how I felt.
Really? I'm super excited because Death Stranding is going to come out on the PC this year. I have it on the PS4, but I feel like it would handle better on the PC. I can't wait to get the PC version. Mm-hmm. Why would you be upset about that?
I haven't figured it out myself. I may be a console gamer. I like playing retro consoles personally, but given the circumstances, I'll play an emulator on a PC any day of the week if I can play the games that I want to. I see no reason for any kind of hate. Like really? For example, back during the console wars, it kind of made sense because what you were doing went right along with what games you liked determined what consoles you were getting.
Mm-hmm.
Because not a lot of people were deciding, oh, well, let me get, all the other game systems that are out there right now so I can play everything. Not everybody was thinking that way. These days you can pull that off if you want to, but it depends. But we're getting off track. Still talking about how the community of things makes a difference, the type of people, the lifestyle that you get to enjoy. And the cosplay community is no different. You're going to have people who do ridiculous things that make no sense whatsoever and alienate the folks around them. But you're also going to have those people who, regardless of how you might perceive them, they are so in love with what they're doing, they don't care what you got to say. They're going to keep doing what they do.
There you go. I agree. And those are the people that I say, hey, go for it. Rock it and work it. Absolutely. Because there's no reason why you should allow outside opinion to determine what you yourself are personally going to be doing. At least not when it comes to something like this, because it's not that serious. It's for fun. As much as I love it, and as much as I feel like that is my actual reality, it's still just for fun. Mm-hmm. It's glorified Halloween. Let's just be real.
Yes, that is exactly the right thing.
With Pocky instead of circus peanuts.
Both of which I will eat, but I will choose Pocky over circus peanuts any day.
Yeah, I have enough doorstops in my house, so Pocky.
Which reminds me, reminiscing all these years about different conventions that we've gone to and some of the ridiculous things that have happened at them, you remind me of the legend of the Great Pocky Rebellion.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. These are the things that happen when you upset nerds. But these are the reasons why cosplay culture is another amazing subculture to me. Because sometimes just a person deciding to put together a particular type of costume can start a story that, makes its way into, the stuff of legend. No, I'm very sure that you come across quite a few people over the years who have had some really majorly insane cosplay and stuff that has just kind of just blew people's minds, as for the way that they did things or gave you, an interesting story to tell or something like that. How about we take some time and share a couple of those? Because I have a couple on mine that I really want to tell you guys.
Honestly, because I go to many different types of conventions, not as many as you do, but, varying types. I think one of the best ones that I've seen so far was the last Sherlock convention that I went to. And there were so many Sherlocks there. And the actor that plays Sherlock Holmes, Benedict Cumberbatch, in the new series, also played Smaug in The Hobbit.
Oh, Smaug!
So there was somebody that was there dressed as Sherlock with dragon wings on them.
I love it.
It was fantastic. The best part of that was the Sherlock Con I was at was in Atlanta. I saw that same person less than 3 months later in Pennsylvania at a Renaissance fair. They were wearing the same cosplay. It was the best. It was absolutely the best. I was like, how did my world shrink this much? I'm in the middle of nowhere, BF, Pennsylvania, and there's that exact same person. How did my world shrink this much?
These are the reasons why I love living in the future, because you see this kind of thing happening. When we were kids, the world was so expanded and stretched out, and everybody was all over the place, and getting a number of people that liked similar things into the same building was like a needle in a haystack situation.
Oh, yeah.
Now, one of my favorite things to do when I go to a convention is see how many people I've seen at the last convention I was in. When I went to J1Con back in November, I spent about half the time I was there saying, hey, I remember you.
That's awesome.
It's a beautiful thing if you ask me. Two of my favorite things, I'm going to tell these back to back because they happened almost at the same time. Two of my favorite stories from when I went to Anime Next last year. Because this was my big comeback to going to conventions, and it kicked off like crazy. Because I was just going to go to Anime Next, and then I was like, nah, I need to keep doing this. This needs to happen more. So I ended up going to like 5 conventions that year.
Nice.
Walking around with Steve Urkel, thinking, because I had been out of the loop for such a long time, that a lot of people wouldn't recognize Steve Urkel. Which was already just a stupid thought, but this is how you can tell I had been out of the loop for such a long time. A girl came out of nowhere and shouted, "Oh my God, are you Steve Urkel?" I turned to her, I wiggled my glasses, I was like, "That's correct." I was just right on it. She was like, "Can I hug you?" I was like, "Sure, why not?" Apparently, the week before, she had just gotten new glasses because her eyes had really gone bad very quickly. And the only glasses that they had that fit the shape of her face well were glasses that looked like the ones that I was wearing that day.
Nice.
Her friend was like, "Oh my God, she needed this so bad." I was like, okay, that works for me. Not 10 seconds later, I see a boyfriend and girlfriend. The girlfriend was dressed as young Link from Majora's Mask.
Uh-huh.
Her boyfriend was the Skull Kid,
Nice.
which I thought was friggin' awesome. And I loved that they put so much detail into their costumes. They posed for me and everything. It was so wonderful. I turned to the boyfriend after I gave them my card and told them I was putting their pictures up and all that. I said, "Now don't drop any moons on anybody." He starts laughing. And I thought that was hilarious that he was like right along with me on that. Because in Majora's Mask, there's this evil moon coming to crush the town of Termina. As I finish saying this, I turn my head and I see a woman dressed as the evil moon. And it wasn't like, it was a sexy version of no. Big, round, evil moon, giant, evil-looking smile on her face.
That's the best.
I went to her immediately, and I said, "Can you do me a favor and fall on me?" She said I'd be delighted.
Please tell me somebody got a picture of this.
Not only did someone get a picture of this, I have pictures of this.
We will be posting pictures on our Twitter and our Facebook account so that you can see some of this stuff.
Mhm.
Because that is amazing. That is too amazing not to share.
Yes, it is. It is a perfect example of the love people put into things. Now, going along those same lines, this was about 10, 15 minutes after that whole thing, and I'm still trying to catch my breath from laughing as hard as I was.
Absolutely.
I saw at a distance Princess Tony Stark.
What?
Apparently, somebody on DeviantArt decided, not long after Disney bought Marvel, to make Disney princess versions of some of the Marvel characters, one of which was Tony Stark in a ball gown, red and gold, with the Iron Man mask on, with the mask open, and I'm sitting here dying because I'm like, this dude's amazing. I walk up to ask where he got the idea, and a woman's voice comes out of this face.
Nice.
Yes, this was a double crossplay
Ah!
because she had the facial hair drawn in so well that I could not tell that it was makeup until I was standing next to her.
The 6 foot rule. That is the perfect example of the 6 foot rule. If it looks
Yes.
good from 6 feet away, you have done it.
Yes.
That is amazing.
Oh, man.
I applaud them. That is amazing.
To take it that much further, because this is not long after Infinity War had come out, she had a basket that she had like little like Easter eggs or whatnot in, and she was giving them to people. And, they had candy and whatnot in it. You open it up, there was a Jolly Rancher in there, and a little strip of paper that said, "I love you 3000."
Oh.
That's how it's done.
Oh. And that was my heartbreaking.
Yep.
Oh.
That is how cosplay can change people.
Oh.
Hands down. That is what I'm talking about. Because you can make an impact on people with the right costume.
That is beautiful and heartbreaking, and I would like to make a burrito of sadness right now. That's awesome. I don't think I could top that. That's amazing.
That is still one of my favorite stories, but going along the same lines. I met a guy, his name is Nick Jones. I'm going to put the link to his Instagram in the show notes as well.
Sure.
He raises money for different charities by cosplaying.
Oh, neat.
Yes. He works with a volunteer firefighter company. I met him at ZoloCon back in January, and he was cosplaying as Peter Griffin as a firefighter. Had the voice down. It was friggin' awesome. But as he's making his way through, he's letting people know, I'm collecting donations for charity as well. So give him a couple of bucks here and there. During the course of that convention, he had raised about $200 or so for the Fallen Firefighter Foundation.
Nice.
Every cosplay that he does, he raises money for different charities. One is for suicide prevention, another is for fallen firefighters, third is for the arts in schools.
Awesome.
You can't hate on a guy like that. You can't do it.
Absolutely not. Combine your love of something with, an actual good, and I'd say go for it. That's pretty amazing.
Yep,
I love that.
Got that. I love it. I absolutely love it when people do things like that. Because in addition to doing something that you love, you're using that love to change things. I mean, our world sucks enough. We need to change that. And sometimes just putting on a costume and making people smile for a few minutes is enough.
Absolutely. And to be honest, despite the reputation that, many of us in the nerd/geek community/fandom community have of being antisocial and horrible, most of us, I would say, that I've met over the years have been super nice. Some of the nicest people I've ever met.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that's pretty awesome. But I hate to bring the show down and end it on a bad note, but there are some times that, not necessarily in the cosplay community, but certain people on the edges of the cosplay community have tried to make it horrible for the rest of us.
Yes,
the gatekeepers
for some reason
are the first ones.
Oh, absolutely, because for some reason having nice things is not a good thing for them.
Yes. And for all you ladies out there, or anybody that has cosplayed in a female guise at one point or another, knows that there are always the camera creepers out there.
Yes.
They've actually passed laws in Japan to keep these people from harassing the girls because they won't stop. And anybody that has a sign that says free hugs, hug them freely. When you're at a convention and you see somebody that's dressed as your favorite character, and you run up to them as enthusiastic as you are to see them, stop and ask permission before you touch them. I don't mind people hugging me, but I would prefer that you ask first.
Mm-hmm.
That way I can prepare myself for the fact that I'm about to be assaulted.
Yes, basically. When it comes down to it, there's always etiquette. When it comes to meeting people at conventions, whether they're cosplaying, you're cosplaying, or otherwise, you should always try and be just courteous, plain and simple, because you never know what the situation might be. I have no problem asking somebody, can I take your picture? If they say yes, absolutely. Oh, the camera loves you. Oh, yeah. I love doing stuff like that because it brings out another side to people. Mm-hmm. But if a person says, no, I'd rather you not, keep it moving. There are probably about 100 other people that will say yes. Don't be mad that that one person told you no.
Exactly.
Keep going. Go somewhere else. Don't go stalking them because that's the worst thing you could possibly do for yourself and for the community.
Yeah, I agree. Because these days, security will be called on you and you will be escorted firmly from the building and potentially barred from that con for the rest of your life. So please don't risk it.
Yes, definitely not. It's also a very important thing, if you ask me, knowing how often the things that you're saying and doing affect the people around you, whether it's positively or negatively. There have been plenty of times where a person says something specifically trying to compliment a person's costume, but the way it comes out, not complimentary. There was a girl who was dressed as one of the characters from the Promised Neverland. I interviewed her. She was actually the first interview I did at Anime Next. And one of the stories that she told me, not long after I met her, was someone told her, they were trying to be nice saying this. Someone told her that it was really great that she was dressed as the character she was, despite being so fat.
No.
Yeah, not a cool thing to do. I don't care if you were trying to say, oh, you're really brave, I like the fact that you don't say it like that. Plain and simple, you don't. That's an easy way to really hurt somebody, and it's a real easy way to make them want to hurt you. Mm-hmm. Not the kind of thing you should do.
Or to crush them to the point that they will never cosplay ever again.
Yes, and that's the last thing we want. We want more people in our community, you see. Because I don't know about you, but growing up, being a nerd was something that was very rare. I was the anime community in my hometown for a very long time.
There you go, yeah.
So we want more. We want more people to join us.
So please think about it. Just consider what you're saying, but at the same time, have fun, be goofy, enjoy yourselves. Believe me, it is one of the most fun things you will ever do. Once you start, the chances of you actually stopping it are pretty slim because it is something that is so much fun. I go to conventions now. If I don't dress up, I feel like I'm naked at the con. Even if I'm wearing a character shirt, I still feel naked. It's like I should be dressed up. It makes the con so much more fun. Seriously, go to a con in regular clothes, go back the next year and dress up. I'm telling you, it'll be twice as much fun when you're cosplaying.
It is the easiest way to participate that I have ever come across. It was like, I'm going to get dressed today.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. It's a very simple thing. But it makes such a difference, especially when you do so because you have a love for something. It makes it so much more interesting to go to a convention, to go to a comic show, or to go to a movie premiere or something like that, dressed as one of your favorite characters. You see the nerd come out in everybody when stuff like that happens. And being a part of something, no matter what it might be, especially if it's positive, being a part of something raises everything inside you. It can raise your self-esteem. It can raise your self-worth. It can raise your idea of your own personality. So it's really an amazing thing when you take the time and say, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. Absolutely. And once you try it once, and if it's something you really like, it ain't going away. Like you said, the chances of you stopping are extremely slim.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think that's enough for today. Where can people get in touch with us if they want to hear more?
Well, if anybody who has listened to this podcast and wants to hear more of the ridiculous stuff that we talk about wants to find us, there are a couple of ways you can do that. The first way that was brand new for us is on Linktree. The URL is linktr.ee// bit.ly/littleoldpeoplepodcast. On that link tree, you will see all of the links to all of our social media. You will be able to find this podcast on Sounder at littleoldpeoplepodcast.sounder.fm/show/littleoldpeoplepodcast. Yes, I know it's a mouthful, but you can find that link on Linktree as well. You can also find our podcast now, and I'm so happy about this, on Google Podcasts and on Google Play Music.
Yay!
If you'd like to follow us on social media, you can find us at facebook.com/littleoppodcast, and you can send us a tweet on Twitter at twitter.com/littleoppodcast. And if you'd like to send us an email to tell us how awesome we are, or how much more awesome we could be if we did A, B, or C, whatever suggestions you may have, we are always happy to have them. You can send us an email at littleoldpeoplepodcast@gmail.com.
Well, I've been Chibi Mythos, and he's been the little black dude, and this has been the Little Old People Podcast.
Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.